everyone, we're back, and today we're going to be talking about the ed suffix. I know a suffix is a group of letters that I add to the end of a base or root word that changes the root word's meaning. And the ed suffix is a word that is added to the end that means it happened in the past. So if I jog today, I jogged yesterday. If I demolish something today, yesterday I demolished it. The tricky thing about the ed suffix is that it actually makes three different sounds. Sometimes ed says d, sometimes it says t, and sometimes it says ed or id, depending on your pronunciation. So how do you know when you're reading and spelling which sound ed makes? It really comes down to the last letter or the last sound of the base word before you add the suffix. So let's get started with decoding or reading. Really, when reading, the best way to do it is to just find the root word first. So we're always going to look and ask ourselves, what is the base word or the root word before we add the suffix? And in this case, the word is ask. So one strategy, you can just try all three sounds. Would this be asked? Would it be asked? Or would it be asked? And usually you can hear the one that sounds correct. I asked my mom if I could have a sleepover. And oftentimes we can just hear asked my mom. That ends with the t sound. Let's try another one with that strategy. This is the word. The root word or the base word is sand. So I could try yesterday I sanded my patio. Yesterday I sanded my patio. Or yesterday I sanded my patio. You can hear that sanded is correct. Let's try one more. My base word for this one is save. I saved enough money. I saved enough money, or I saved enough money for a new TV. This one is I saved enough money. So often when we're reading, we can just try all three sounds. Now let's think about spelling. Really, the spelling of ed can be tricky because some words sound like they have a T at the end, like in the word jumped. So I'm going to show you the true way or the true rule of how you know which one to use. Let's take a look. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to think about the base word, and we're going to determine if the final sound of the base word is voiced or unvoiced. Put your hand on your larynx or your voice box. I want to try some sounds and I'm going to show you which sounds are voiced and unvoiced. Say the sound k, k, k. Does your voice box vibrate? No, it's an unvoiced sound. Now try the sound v, like V. V. Does your voice box vibrate? Yes, that is a voiced sound. So when your voice box vibrates, it's a voiced sound, and when it doesn't vibrate, it's unvoiced. So now here's the rule. The last sound of the base word determines whether the ed makes a t, d, or ed sound. The first rule's pretty easy. If the last letter of the base word ends in a T or a D, we have to have the ed sound of ed. Let's practice that. Let's write the word list. Everybody tap out the sounds in list. L, I, S, T. l, I, s, t. The last sound in the word list is a T. If it is a T, we automatically know that it's going to make the ed sound. So the word is listed. And notice that it makes a second syllable. I listed the job in the newspaper. Okay, let's try another one. How about the word mend? If you mend something, you fix it. Tap out the sounds in mend. M, eh, n, d. Mend. Capture those sounds in your sound spelling boxes. The very last letter is a D, which means when I add ed, it's going to create the ed sound. This word is mended, and it creates a second syllable. Listed, mended. And notice that that final sound goes over to the second syllable. It really sounds like listed, mended. Okay, now let's try one that determines whether the last sound is voiced or unvoiced. How about the word spill? Tap out the sounds in spill. S, p, I, l. Capture those sounds in your sound spelling boxes. S, p, I, l. And I know that this is a short one-syllable word with a short vowel, so it follows the floss rule, and I'm going to do double L's. Put your hand on your voice box and say, l. Is it voiced or unvoiced? If it's a voiced sound, then the ed is going to make the d sound. Watch this. Spilled. Spilled. And we like to say, drop it like a d, drop it like a d. If it's voiced, it's going to say d. Spilled. Let's try another one. Say the word yell. Yelled. Yelled. How about the word bang? Like, I'm going to bang the door. Say g, g, g. It's definitely voiced. So when I say banged, I'm going to drop it like a d. Banged. Banged. Nice. Now let's try a couple words that have unvoiced sounds at the end. How about the word ask? I'm going to ask my mom for a sleepover. What's the last sound in ask? A-s-k. A-s-k. I'm going to tune into the final sound, and the final sound is k. Everybody put your hand on your voice box and say k, k, k. Is it voiced or unvoiced? Unvoiced. Watch me. When it makes an unvoiced sound, then the ed makes the t sound. It's like this. Asked. 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 Nice. So when I have an unvoiced sound, then it makes the t sound, which is up by your lips. So we say asked. And it reminds us that it's an unvoiced and it makes the t sound. How about the word crushed? Crushed. I crushed the opponent at my last game. And your final word is kick. Tap out the sounds in kick. K, I, k, k, I, k. If I'm capturing these sounds, then I have k, I, k. And I know this is a short one-syllable word with a short vowel, so it follows the CK rule. My last sound is k, kicked. What did I do? I kicked the ball. All right, one final way to think about this is if you're going to spell a word and you really have no idea how to spell the ending. Let's take a look at the word funded. The game was funded by donations. So step number 1 whenever you're going to spell a word with a suffix is to think of the root or the base word. So my root word is fund. So I'm going to write the word fund. And then my second step is I know that it happens in the past. If it happens in the past, I write ed. Not always, but often. So now I'm going to say the activity was funded by the donations. And I notice right away that my last sound was d, so that ed makes the ed sound. My whole word is funded. And you can use this graphic organizer to help you really see the parts in the word, the morphology parts. Let's try one more like that. How about if my word is enjoyed? I enjoyed the holidays. What's my base word of enjoyed? The base word is joy. So I find just my base word first. My prefix is n, and my suffix, it happened in the past, so I write ed. What's my word? Enjoyed. And I can just pretty much read and hear that that would say enjoyed. But everybody put your hand on your voice box and say joy. That very final sound, is it voiced or unvoiced? Joy. It's voiced. So I would say enjoyed. Drop it like a d. Enjoyed. I hope that that clears up the 3 tricky sounds of the suffix ed. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.